What's up, guys? Welcome to Fight Talk with Jimmy Dukes. Recap of CFC 5, back for blood. We are joined by the best commentator in the Southwest, my homie, your homie, Head Kick. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm pretty good, man. Still, feeling the action from Saturday night. It was a pretty good card. We had a lot of great fights, some good finishes, 3 title fights. I mean, it was everything you wanted and more. And we broke some records with attendance. So CFC really doing big things.
3,100, if I'm not mistaken, 3,100 people showed up to support the event, the fighters, the teams. It was awesome. They always put on a great production, right?
Yes. CFC actually gaining some notoriety for their performances, for their shows being bigger and better. I mean, we had I'm not sure what type of award-winning artist he was, because I
Grammy
don't
Award
follow the
winning.
man. There you go. Grammy award-winning artists will grace the CFC cage. Champions from all the major organizations. I mean, CFC's really got it going on.
Yeah, man, I was excited for the event, man. They had 12 fights lined up, and always a pleasure seeing you, man. I always like talking to you because we're kind of in the same space in between the fighters and doing content and talking to guys. And I always like doing these after postings to kind of just talk about what we saw and get all the hardcores in here to get the community buzzing a little bit more about Southwest Combat Sports, man. So I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, and shout out to Mr. Jeremy West and Adrian. I don't know how to
Yeah,
pronounce his last
brought it,
name.
brought us.
Broadus? Okay, so it's
Yeah,
just like it's spelled. Okay.
yeah. How was
Um,
that?
for a couple guys that had never done it before, I think they did pretty well. Adrian lined us up pretty good. Jeremy came in with all the technical knowledge, especially when it came to the ground, because my ground game is a little rusty.
Right.
But the boys did good. We had a lot of fun. You could definitely tell that these guys really wanted to do it and did their research, and it was just a lot of fun. They were a lot of they brought a lot of excitement to the booth. It was very fun.
Yeah, man, I love it. But yeah, let's get lined up with these fights. Um, 12 fights, first night, first fight of the night. We had Richie Galvan out of Tucson versus Jonathan Baca out of Albuquerque. One-sided show, unfortunately for Baca there, huh?
Absolutely. Galvan came in and showed his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu and pulled off a dominant victory. Baca really couldn't get going even when he got space. Galvan was just all over him. Credit to Baca. He could have, tapped out. He could
Yeah.
have said, "Hey, I don't want to go out for rounds 2 and 3 after, rounds 1 and 2." It was looking pretty bad for him. And I don't want to ever count a fighter out, especially when we've seen crazy finishes. This is a unpredictable sport, right? However, Galvan definitely put on a show, and that was his debut. A purple belt. He'd been training jiu-jitsu for at least 8 years. Comes out of a great school in 10th Planet Tucson, Toro Tech. So, dude was ready to go. And I was talking to him before the fight, and I was asking him if he was nervous, and he was like, "I am a little nervous." And I said, "Look, man, it's your debut. Just go out there and have fun." And have fun he did. And same thing with Baca. Again, it didn't go his way, but you could definitely tell that he was feeling himself.
Yeah, man. Bertrick was really high on Richie. And this is the thing that I mean, you've been to enough events, man. Richie looks like the most unassuming person, young kid. But man, I mean, he went out there and he showed that top pressure, and it wasn't like a lay and pray, but he was beating him up pretty much the whole time. Baca had no time to breathe. I mean, Baca's a great stand-up artist, but this is MMA. And for those that might not like that kind of fight, I mean, there was a lot of technical things going on. I mean, Galvan was doing everything for leveraging and putting him on the ground and making sure he was advancing. I mean, it was a washout for sure for Galvan, but man, it was a good test for him, especially as a first fight. He was fighting a guy who already fought. He got the nerves out of the
Twice.
way and then got it done. So I was like very impressed. I was very impressed for him, and he's a young guy, and we need more young guys in the Southwest, right?
Absolutely. Galvan came out there immediately, took the center of the cage, got his takedown, and basically took the fight from there. And just because he was on the ground, he wasn't just laying and praying. He was dropping bombs. And out there in El Paso, they allow elbows, and he was definitely throwing those. So he definitely made it an exciting fight for the fans. A great opening bout, in my opinion. I think the matchmaking was right on par. Two newbies to the sport, a guy in Galvan that just brought excitement to the ground 100%. He was threatening with submissions. He was ground and pounding. I mean, there wasn't a second in that fight where he wasn't trying to finish from the top position.
Yeah, man, it was awesome to see that. So Richie gets it done as his debut, goes 1-0. Baca goes to 1-1, and excited to see what they both have in store, for the next fights. I mean, Baca took a little bit of beating, but I was talking to him in between and after, and he was like, "Man, I did get beat up, but I'm ready to go." So we'll probably see him out there in January, and Richie, sky's the limit for him. But
Absolutely.
yeah, moving up from there, the next fight didn't last long. Angel Gallegos versus Anytime Solaita. Angel gets it done in the first round. Devastating TKO, huh?
Yeah. So Laito, he's got big aspirations, right? He's very proud of his heritage, and both guys took the fight on short notice. This fight was announced like 3 days before the event, and I don't think either guy was intending to fight on Saturday. However, the fight did materialize. Solaita's so big,
I
so
know.
big. Oh
He's a
my
big
goodness.
dude.
I was not expecting him to be so filled out at, I believe it was like 160 or 165. But
As a catch weight.
Gallegos, yeah, he definitely went out there with something to prove. He wanted to go out there and show that his first two fights, winning by first round knockout, were not a fluke, and he definitely delivered in devastating fashion. And Gallegos only had two fights. Solaita had this was his 10th fight, so he had 9 fights total before he ever made the walk. That's 7 fights more than his opposition, and that didn't seem to bother Gallegos at all. He went out there, executed his game plan. Especially being the shorter fighter, he was able to find his distance very well and land that nice clean shots, and then eventually put Solita out there in the first round. And the post fight, he wanted everybody to know that he's here. He's trying to get that title sooner rather than later.
Yeah, after that finish, he came and yelled at you guys. That's 3 in a row in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit. And I had talked to him a little bit before because I know his cousin from Albuquerque out of SFS, and he was like, "Man, you got to watch out for my cousin. He's the real deal." And I was like, oh, "Okay, I mean, I love seeing fights, you know what I mean?" And so Laita has the experience, but man, Gallegos went in there and was tagging Solaita a couple times, how you were saying. Solaita was weathering the storm, but eventually, a couple of those to the head. I mean, anybody doesn't want to get punched in the head that many times, and got it done. And yeah, he put everybody on notice. I know he wants that 155 title. I mean, anytime that CFC has people call people out and want stuff, I'm sure they love hearing that, right?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna give this tell this to all the fighters out there. The more you come and talk shit to the booth, the more we love it. Whether you're talking shit just to get something off your chest, or I've actually been called out by a fighter because I didn't do a pre-fight interview back when I was really heavy into interviews. And he called me out, and like at the broadcast, we couldn't figure out what he was talking about. And he came back and he was like, "I'm talking to you. You interviewed everybody but me." And I'm like, ah, shit. But you know what? It's like one of the coolest things to see, especially from a broadcast standpoint, because all these guys are human.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yes, they're fighters, but they're also human, and they have feelings. And he wanted his feelings to be known. Gallegos wanted his feelings to be known. He didn't want anybody to forget. Now he's 3-0 with 3 first round knockouts, and he's coming for that belt for sure.
Yeah, man, I love to see it. Always guys coming out of the woodwork. He said he had just been training for 2 weeks, signed up for the fight, got his days off as a firefighter, came to El Paso and got it done. So shout out to Gallegos out of SFS in Albuquerque. He moves up to 3-0. Solaita at 4-6 on his amateur career for the second fight. Third fight, the Houdini, Clark Ginn versus Danny Martinez out of J Pages in Phoenix. Back and forth battle here, right?
100%. You had Clark, who had the length, he had the reach, and he definitely knew how to use it. He knows how to use it. He executed his game plan to perfection. Danny Martinez, an excellent boxer, but really couldn't get into boxing range. He was stuck fighting at kickboxing range and ultimately couldn't really get any momentum. He started having some success there in the third, but Houdini just too much, too long, too fast.
Yeah, I think, and we've seen Clark fight twice already, well, three times now, and he knows that people are trying to take him down. So he's been working on that defense because he's striking is really good. And Danny was trying to get in there. I heard his corner saying crash, crash. They were trying to get in close on him to make it a little dirty, but man, Houdini was looking good, just backpedaling, tagging, getting his shots when he could. Danny was trying to get in, getting shots where he could, but ultimately it was in the favor of Clark Ginn.
100%. It was a very tactical fight from Houdini's side, using that bicycle, using his length, using his range, finding the perfect opportunities to strike. It was a very, very fun stand-up fight, and that's what fans want to see. Now, sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. You have a fight that played out almost entirely on the feet between Martinez and Ginn, and then you had Galvan and his opponent strictly on the ground, him and Baca. So both fights equally exciting, but the fans tend to like the stand-up, so they tend to favor the fighters like Danny Martinez and Houdini.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody likes to see some rock'em sock'em, even though there's a technical aspect, and everybody likes seeing all that crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, back and forth, and I'm glad that we got to see Danny fight. I know the last two events,
Finally,
he had some issues and health stuff, and we always want to worry about the fighters. And Carlos even said, man, like booking him again for the third time was kind of a not a good idea as a promoter, but he believed in his style and believed in, him just trying to go forward, and he was trying to push the fight. So that's what we all like to see. I mean, everybody to be safe and everybody show up and just try to do their thing and, showcase their skills and what they've been working on and, get those cheers from the crowd, huh?
absolutely. And Martinez came forward. He did his part as the shorter fighter, and then the shorter reach. He was coming forward the entire fight. Houdini just was too technical, really used his range very well. And it was nice to see Houdini fight a technical fight.
Yes.
That's how Ginn likes to fight. He likes to fight long. He likes to fight technical. He likes to fight to play out on the feet. Obviously, it would have been nice to see new wrinkles in his ground game. However, the fight played out on the feet, and he walked away with unanimous decision.
Yeah, so shout out to Clark Ginn. That moves him to 4-4, evening out his amateur career, and Danny moves down to 1-3, respectively.
However, this also was Danny Martinez's featherweight debut, so he had to move up in weight in order to get the graces from Carlos Pacheco to get the fight in the first place, because he's got to figure out how to get down to 35. I think he just needs to start his cut a little bit sooner.
Yeah, just for sure. Like, I mean, we've been around fighters enough to we can kind of see their build and their frame. Obviously, moving down to 135 would be better for him because Clark is jacked 145 for sure. You know what I mean? So So we wish the best for Danny on the next fight, and Clark gets a win, and we move on from there. Moving up on the next fight, we had Collins versus Stam. Back and forth a little bit, with Collins getting taken down a lot, reverts the position, got that rear naked choke. Yeah, that was awesome to see the back and forth there on that one, huh?
One of the things I loved about this fight is there was a little bit of, controversy and jocking and shit talking in the weigh-ins because Jack's missed weight, right? He missed weight. There was a weight clause, a weigh-in clause. He had to weigh in the day of the show, and he couldn't be above a certain limit, and he made that no problem, right? He couldn't be above like 187, and I think he weighed in at like 186.5. So the fight continued, and it was a really, really good technical stand-up battle from 50 cal's perspective, and it was just a fighter that was a little bit out of reach, trying to get the fight to the ground where he thought he would have a lot of success. And 50 cal absolutely did not need a finish. He was up on the scorecards 30-27, no problem. He didn't need the finish, but that's not the type of fighter he is. He went out there, reverses the position, gets that rear naked choke, and wins in the third round via finish, a finish he didn't need. He did
Yeah.
not need the finish. He could have taken it to the scorecards and easily swept them. However, that's not the type of fighter he is. Now, Jax, on the other hand, a very, very powerful guy. You can see that when he's throwing his strikes, he's got a lot of power. He was just a little bit off. He's just coming up a little bit short. And we know a little bit about that, right? So I think a little bit of adjustments, and he could have had a much better fight. And I know going forward, because he's coming in 2-0, this is his first loss. He's going to see those areas in which he needs to improve, and he's going to come back a better fighter for it. And 50 cal, I mean,
Quiet.
what a badass nickname too.
Yeah, dude, it's such a quiet. Like, I've been around him, enough, and he cross trains at different gyms, and he's a military guy, so he's been having to take care of what he needs to take care of. But to finally see him in there, man, he looks like a damn GI Joe. His physique, man. Gee, look, Jesus Christ, such a calm guy. Got it done. Gave respect to as his opponent, and he was just happy to be there, man. And
He got cracked too. He got cracked with a nice head kick.
Yeah, dude. And he ate that. He
100%. He was hungry.
Yeah, I remember like that happened. You're right. He got head kicked because I was recording. I was like, oh, but then he kept moving forward. Like, I thought he was gonna kind of stumble or something. I was just like, oh my God, this guy is not human. Holy shit.
It was a great fight for the fans for sure. I'm sure that everybody in attendance and those that are going to watch later on that's a fight that I want to go back and watch.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so shout out to 50 cal gets it done. Stan moves down, and 50 cal gets his first fight in some time and moves up to 2-1. But from there, it was a banger for as long as it lasted as well. We had Mr. Paul Dakota, a CFC veteran, versus Mr. Deer on a short notice fight from Toro Tech. That guy doesn't care, man. He was just going straight forward, wasn't he?
Chris Deer has one gear. That is it. And it's full throttle.
Yes.
Full throttle.
I love it.
He throws caution to the wind. He throws 100% into every punch. And he hit Dakota with some nasty shots. I thought, he almost had him out there a couple times, but Dakota showed his chin, came out there, weathered the storm, really picked up in the second and third round, was able to get the judges to, agree with him that he was not going to he wasn't going to give up. He was going to take those last 2 rounds. But Chris Deer, I want to see this man fight again.
Yes.
Now, Dakota, I definitely want to see him fight again because I'm loving the progression that he's making. This was a very, very hard fight, not just on him, getting clocked in the head, but also cardio-wise. Mm-hmm. This was a very, very tough fight. He did have a nice clean weight cut. It wasn't that bad.
Yep.
So he came in very professionally. So we're seeing this progression with these young fighters as they get more experience. I can't wait to see Dakota fight again. I imagine he's probably lining himself up for a title shot very soon, if not in his next fight. And then Chris Deer, again, coming up short, but instantly became a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, man. If I'm not mistaken, Dakota did have a title fight, but it fell through because his opponent had to cancel. So Deer actually fought about 2 weeks ago in Cruces. I called his first fight. And he beat a guy that had 4 fights and as his amateur debut. And then a week and a half later, I'm looking at the cards and I see his name up against Dakota. I was like, oh man, like that's like a step up in competition. But I think when I spoke to him, he was like, I'm only here. I've been waiting for so long to fight. So I got to put everything I can. And for him to step up on short notice against a guy who progressively gotten better, he can easily see like, okay, if I kind of keep going what I'm doing and keep training where I am with Toro Tech, I mean, Chris can keep doing this and keep getting better. I was like, you say, I like seeing that too. I'm fortunate enough to be around a lot of the guys in the events that I can clearly see progression. You know what I mean? I can clearly see progression. And as you were saying for Paul, it was good that he got that 3, he was supposed to win, right? But he had a hard time winning. And the fact that he got pushed that hard by Deer for 3 rounds, he learned a lot about himself too. The weight cut, fighting for those 3 rounds and, getting that win really needed it for his record and moving forward.
Well, and that also netted fight of the night. which
Oh,
I don't think anybody's in disagreement here. I believe that was, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that type of action, right? It wasn't my fight of the night because there was a more technical fight
yeah.
later on the card. However, it was a very fun fight for the fans, and it was a fun fight to call for sure.
Yeah, man. So Paul Dakota gets it done. 4-1 as an amateur. I mean, title shot makes nets for him. You know, whoever's lined up against a crosswoman, Chris Deere. I mean, for him to take it on short notice to fight a legit guy like Paul, you know, get some extra rounds, some extra time after like a minute TKO win for his first fight. I think he realized, like, okay, this is how fighting is.
Well, and he's got the gas to do that for 3 rounds, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. The velocity in which these guys were fighting. I mean, you're talking I don't know what that thing is that made Tito Ortiz pass out, but I mean it was that type of action.
Yeah, it was great, man. And that was fight of the night. If I'm not mistaken, when it was voted. But yeah, shout out to Paul, gets it done. 4-1 now, and Chris is 1-1. Moving
And
up
shout
there.
out, hold on, before we move on, shout out to Anthony Burchak. That man was working all night
Oh,
because he was the ring announcer. He's the ring announcer for CFC, and he had fighters on the card, and he was also cornering at the same time. Now he's got the luxury of kind of being off to the side, and we can call whatever we want. You know what I mean? As we're on the sidelines, we can tell our fighters to improve their position. We can give them advice, et cetera, et cetera. So he wasn't one of the main corners, but he was definitely in coach mode.
yeah, man. He was like yelling the whole time. I was like, he was more nervous. But yeah, you know what I mean? So Birchie, yeah, man, that was so fun because he was so high on Richie, and I was hearing him yell. I was going back to the tape, and I can clearly hear his ass in the background yelling for both fights. So shout out to Uncle Tony. But yeah, moving up from there, title fight here. Adan Lopez versus Santiago Gonzalez. Break it down for us what you saw on your end, man.
Well, for as long as it lasted, it was very fun. There was a bet, right? The first one to shoot a takedown has to buy the guy a shot or something like that to that effect. And they both cracked each other with some really nice left hands. Ultimately, Adan Lopez shoots first, right? He took the hit a little bit harder. Santi, we all know he's got incredible power at 135 pounds, and so the fight pretty quickly hit the mat. However, there was a couple exchanges on the ground, gets back to the feet, some more exchanges on the ground. Adon Lopez having a lot of success, throwing a lot of submission attempts, and sneaks in, I believe, a triangle choke that was really deep. And we got the tap. I couldn't see the tap. So I'm almost certain it was probably a verbal tap because Santi knew that it was tight and he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. They were both hitting each other, and I heard them saying like he doesn't want to fight. You know what I mean? Because I know they
Yeah,
wanted to hit and
yeah.
bang, but the thing is that it's still MMA. Anybody could say anything. Plans change. And I spoke to Adon after. He's like, man, I mean, once like after that first round, and then we went to the second round, and he was on top of me, and I was just trying to buy time, and he fell into his guard. He overswung, and he trapped his arm. And as Santi kept moving forward, he just threw the leg over and just was tightening it. And Santi keep moving forward, and it just kept making it tighter because once it got pretty tight, he tapped. He
Okay, so
actually
there
yeah
was a physical
yeah
tap.
yeah
Okay.
because I had
It
the
must have
clear
been on
sight.
the other side.
I had the clear sight, and he tapped. But the thing that threw me off is that Santi doesn't like this kid will go through anything. So to tap, it must have been really locked in. Like for him to be like, you know what I mean? I got to tap. You know what I mean? Because it was super tight. And a lot of people don't know Adon has been doing jujitsu for years. And he even told me, man, he's like, that was muscle memory, like straight up muscle memory. And it just came and it was tight. And he was just like, yes, yes. It was crazy to see that, man, because everybody knows that nobody wants to get hit by Santi. As nice as he is, nobody wants to get hit by him. So the fact that, you know, it is MMA, it went to the floor. Don gets it done and he becomes a new bantamweight champion at 135, man.
Well, and you could see the immediate frustration and the sadness and anger come out of Santi immediately. I mean, he was dropping F bombs. He was like almost in disbelief that he got caught with something like that. Almost like he knows the defense, but it was just so tight that he didn't have time to react, and his only reaction was the tap. So it sucks that a fight can happen that way, right? I'm not taking anything away from either guy. Both of them were having great success in certain parts of the fight. However, these guys are pouring their heart and souls
Yep.
into that cage, and for it to just be taken at an instant like that, I can understand the frustration. I can't say that I've been in that situation per se. I wasn't the defending champ. I didn't have a lot riding on this. I wasn't trying to get back some momentum. I wasn't trying to reinvent myself. And I know that Santi had gone back to the drawing board and worked on his ground game like diligently, and he was drilling and he was working very hard on it. And so for all of that to just come to a screeching halt on the ground, I can really sense the frustration, and he'll be back for sure. I mean, you can't deny that left hand. At the same token, I mean, he just lost a strap and he's been there before, so it's not like he can't climb that mountain again.
Yeah, man. And I've gotten to know Santi more and more because, like, just like you build relationships and you get to know guys. And I was actually in Albuquerque not too long ago where Santi fought for a title and lost because of the takedowns. So he was like, man, I'm not going to let that happen again. So the fact that he was working on that takedown defense in the ground game, and then he gets caught in a triangle, man, you know, I always feel like, and this is cool, we have these conversations, like we gap that information between the audience and the fighters. Cause yeah, like Santi lost recently and he had to defend the title and he lost again, and he worked so hard. On the other side, Adon, he's been trying to get a fight for 2 years. He's had 3 fights cancel the week of or the day of. So he's been trying to fight. So like the story is like they're both trying to fight to get that opportunity to win the strap. And how you were saying, man, it's just like they both put so much time and effort and their heart into it. And a lot of people don't understand that or respect that. And we get to tell the story of that. Like both of these guys are awesome, but somebody has to win, right?
Yeah, and somebody also has to lose. But how about Adan Lopez going out there and saying, I really want to go pro, but I don't think I'm there yet? That's a lot of fighters are not going to say that because they want to make money. They don't want to fight for free. They don't want to have an extended amateur career for what? You
Yeah.
know, he definitely believes in himself and believes in his team enough to know that maybe that's not the next step. Maybe there's more that he can do in as an amateur to prepare himself for the professional ranks. So it was nice and refreshing to see a fighter understand that they, even though they just won the title, and you would think that would be the next step, he's not sure and is going to rely on his team to help him make the right decision, which I think is probably going to be a title defense. And our 35-pound division is not lacking for contenders. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, man. I love that too, because you got to be realistic. You got to have the right people around to kind of tell you yes or no. And, for Adon to finally get a fight after 2 years, he even said, I'm 31. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is not as easy as it seems, guys. And, for him to go out there and do that. And it was awesome to see that. And, I want to say one thing. The first person to congratulate him when he won was Santi. Santi picked him up, told him good fight, and then walked away. So shout out to Santi, classy ass mofo right there. You know what I mean? He got caught. He could have walked away pissed off or whatever. Picked up Adon, gave him his props, and did his thing. So shout out to Santi for sure.
It was a great fight, and I love to see these guys be class acts. You don't want to see guys go out there and be disgruntled and have it show. They want to show some class, and they also want to fight for the organization and other organizations in the future. And when you throw a temper tantrum because you lost, sometimes you can miss out on opportunities. So, and we have the privilege of having all of these CFC fighters that come out here and win, lose, or draw. They're just class.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Yeah. So there you go. Santi goes down to 4-4. Adon 3-1 officially. Now the new bantamweight champion for CFC. Moving up from there, we got another title fight head kick. We had Mr. Nine Lives, Nico De La Salle versus Stephen Owens out of Phoenix. for the vacant 155 amateur title. What
It
you
was
think about this fight?
inaugural. It was
Inaugural.
inaugural.
Is that what it's called when it's vacant?
When it's the first one, when it's the first ever, it's the
Oh,
inaugural. So at CFC 5, we had the inaugural amateur lightweight championship and the inaugural heavyweight championship. So we'll start with Steven Esparza Owens versus Nico De La Salle. Huge fight at 155 pounds. Obviously, both guys, they came to fight, and both guys put on one hell of a clinic. It was a super technical fight on the feet, and both guys were having a lot of success in certain areas. You found the shorter fighter in Esparza Owens find his range and start to tag him early. And Nico had a really big head kick, I believe, in like the third or second round. It was a badass fight. It was my fight of the night, and I get that there's a connection between me and Esparza Owens. We're actually really good friends outside of fighting, and it was really cool to see him get this shot. He actually called CFC4 with me on the broadcast. So it was really awesome to see him go out there and have that type of performance against a really dangerous guy in De La Salle. I mean, Nico is not only is he good, but he's also big.
oh
The
yeah.
dude is massive
His
for
physique.
155
Yeah,
pounds.
his physique. If you see them next to each other, you're like, oh yeah, this guy should win. You know what I mean? Because the
100%.
physique wise. But yeah, like Esparza, from my understanding, he was trying to get a pro fight. He was trying to get a pro fight. He's already has a couple fights under his belt. He was trying to go pro. And Carlos, waved that title in front of him, against Nico, and he's like, "Well, damn it, I wanted to go pro, but stepping up for that type of fight for them too was great because they both have a good amount of fights. So them testing each other and fighting before they go pro, this is the kind of pro fights they're gonna have, right?
Absolutely. You're going to fight guys that are going to be way bigger than you, especially at a professional level. So for Steven Esparza Owens to go out there and fight the bigger guy and have a lot of success, you can see that he's got the tools that he's going to need to fight these bigger guys. Now, I don't know if Steven starts taking fights at 145 in the professional ranks. I don't see Del Sal getting down to 145 pounds,
Oh
so I
man, that
think
would
he'll
be
probably
insane.
yeah, he probably stays at 55, but I think Pro makes a lot of sense for both of them going forward.
Yeah.
Yes, Esparza Owens is the champ. However, Nico showed that he also has a lot of tools in the belt that he could utilize in the pro ranks, and I think both guys are ready for it. Now, as an amateur, I believe winning a title or defending a title kind of sets you up for that next step, right? The next step in progression is the professional ranks. However, I think Nico can kind of bypass that if he wants to. Again, nobody wants to fight for free, and I understand that these guys they can make money in other aspects of being a fighter, right? But I think De La Salle proved going 3 hard rounds in a championship fight. He didn't let the nerves get to him. He looked like he was cool, calm, and collected out there. Both guys, as a matter of fact, and he looked like he belonged. And at the end of the day, when you're fighting under this type of pressure, that's what you want to see. You want to see fighters go out there and fight their fight, right? Now, Owens was just able to be a little bit more smoother, a little bit more technical, and find his way on the inside. I mean, he was in and out. There was a lot of leg kicks thrown by De La Salle, and I was really surprised that Steven was even walking after the fight. However, that just shows that he's got super amounts of toughness built into them little chicken legs.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, for you did say it was a fight of the night, and for people to know, it was a split decision. You know what I mean? So it like I even said when I was going through all my footage, I even leaned over to somebody because I had the GoPro on my head. I'm like, man, it can go either way because from what I saw, from what my angle, I usually like try to pay attention as much as I can when I'm working or whatever, but that seemed like as fair as fight as possible. You know what I mean? They how you said they had both times where they had their little chances and doing well. And ultimately, you know what I mean? Espada gets it done. I remember him saying he's like, man, I'm trying to feed my kids to be here. You know what I mean? So, you know,
Well,
he was talking about all that, dude. I love hearing that because a lot of people fight for different reasons. How you were saying, and this sport is, you know, especially as an amateur with X amount of fights, you're going on the road, you're paying for your own stuff, you're training your own thing. So, you know, for him to have that many fights and say, "Hey, I'll do one more amateur before getting this pro career going," I thought that was a great move.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And again, I think he just understands the progression. He's been around the sport long enough. That was his 14th fight, if I'm not mistaken, as an amateur,
Easy.
going 7-6-1 as an amateur. So a professional is definitely the next step in progression for him, without a doubt. I don't think that he has to defend his title. I think he can go on straight to the pro ranks. He did eat a nasty head kick, and I thought that was probably going to be the end. However, he said that's not the way that this story's going to go. I'm just going to march on and do my thing, right? And after the fight, I got the privilege of being right there while they were both talking to each other, and they were both saying that when it came to the scorecards, neither guy could really say, yes, I put a stamp on this fight. It really could go either way. Both of them were unsure, and neither guy was upset with the result, which again, class. That's something you want to see in these guys, especially when they're getting ready to make their walk to the professionals.
Yeah, it just shows like a lot of how you were saying earlier, like promotions and branding and stuff like that. I mean, it's a tough sport. If everybody could do it, you know, I mean, everybody would, but they don't. So I mean, you do. I remember you told me, and I learned this from you. You get like 3 or 4 seconds after you win to say whatever you want, but after that, you know what I mean. So yeah. So shout out to Owens, gets the inaugural title, but now it's vacant, right? I
Yes,
learned
sir.
I learned something new. I didn't know that. So when something's for the first time inaugural, okay, but now it's vacant. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see Nine Lives in the pros. We'll see Owens in the pros, and we wish them the best for sure.
Absolutely.
Dang, moving up from there,
The big
another
boys.
inaugural, inaugural,
Yes.
inaugural,
Inaugural.
inaugural. I can't
Yeah, you
spoke.
got it. You got it. Right there.
I can't spoke right. But yeah, the big boys. We had Adrian Edwards out of Apex in Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. Dylan Matthews from Otero Sports in Alamogordo. Two big
Let me
guys.
correct you there. Let me correct you here. El Grizzly is
Ed
out of
Grizzly,
Apex MMA in Tucson, Arizona, where
Tucson.
I
Oh,
reside.
my bad. Well, there you go. That's what you. So El Grizzly going out there and Dylan's with the height. I just thought the matchup was interesting because obviously Dylan's 10 feet tall and the Grizzly looks like a damn bear. And I was just curious to see how it was going to go, man. It went back and forth until it didn't, right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was speaking to Exotic and Adrian on the commentary about how El Grizzly, both of them kept doing the same thing and expecting a different result, which I believe chaos would be that definition, right? Or that would be the definition of chaos, where you're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And almost right after I had got done saying that, which the way that these two were colliding is Adrian would throw a combination to get into the clinch, and then he would get turned by the butcher, right? So these guys, and they just kept doing that over and over and over again. And basically, as soon as I got done explaining that, these guys are just doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Adrian threw a combination to get into reach because he was the shorter fighter. He has the shorter arms. However, I do believe that he was landing some bombs, right? There was some really nice, clean elbows coming from the Butcher, which I understand that's probably where he gets his nickname from. But he was doing a lot of reaching because he's so tall, and he was throwing his chin up in the air, which normally in sparring, I believe that's where he developed that habit where you're just the tallest guy around. So if you just pick your head up, nobody can hit you, right? However, you're fighting another big man in El Grizzly, so you definitely got to keep that chin tucked and keep them hands up, not out, right? And I think Grizzly saw that and took advantage of that. So he closed the distance with the combination, put the Butcher up against the cage, and then separated and then threw another combination instead of staying on the fence. And that's where he netted the victory. That's when he got the finish. As soon as he made the adjustment, he won. It was literally that simple. Had either guy realized we're literally just playing ping pong, all we're doing is the same thing over and over again. If I don't make an adjustment, if I don't switch things up, the fight's going to go to the judges. And if it goes to the judges, yes, Adrian is controlling a lot of that action. However, every time he got to the cage, he got turned, right? Or at least damn near. So I don't know the way the fight, I don't know the way the judges are going to call that fight.
Yeah.
So for me, it was seeing him make that adjustment. And as soon as he did, he gets the knockout win.
Yeah, man, because there was a lot of cage work. I know Dylan was getting some elbows in, some knees in, and they were working around the cage. And the sequence that led to the end, how you said it, he came in, boom, 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 got close, was kind of wrestling, backed up. And from what I saw from the video, it looked like an overhand, tagged him, and it kind of stunned him. And then he just started turning and going down, and just El Grizzly got on top. Boom, boom, boom. TKO, new heavyweight champion, Adrian Edwards, 4-2. But just how you were saying about Owens, he was like, hey, man, time to go pro.
Well, he's a kid that doesn't want to mess around too much in the amateurs. He wants to go out there, and he really truly believes in himself. And if I had to say that any fighter on this card believed in himself more, it would be El Grizzly. This guy lives and breathes MMA, and I've gotten to call a couple of his fights, and you see a true progression, not in from amateurs to professional, but you see him make improvements in every fight. Right? He's not just going to be a slobber knocker, rock'em sock'em robots, and he took some bombs. I mean, that kid's got a chin, Mark Hunt status. You know what I mean? He was taking some absolute bombs, and he just kept coming forward. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't know any other way. It's just when you see guys make that adjustment, he lives and breathes this sport, and he listened to his coaches, and they probably told him, hey, man, you guys are just doing the same thing. You need to immediately separate so you don't get turned and throw another combination, right? Or go for a takedown or XYZ, whatever game plans A, B, and C were, right? So you see him go out there in the third round, I believe it was, make the adjustment and get himself a nice victory, becoming the first ever amateur heavyweight champion CFC has ever seen, and immediately calls for a pro shot. So you can't deny the guy, especially when he's going out there and taking care of a big man like the Butcher. That guy's no joke, especially at 6'6". I mean, 10 feet tall. I'm not going to disagree with you, right? But to go out there and do that, showing that his cardio's improved too.
Yes.
That is something that you don't really see in heavyweights a whole lot.
His physique, that's the thing a lot of people don't understand. Like, physique isn't everything. And that just how we were kind of saying for Owens, but just for Adrian as well. Like, he's a heavy set guy, but he was not tired. So that's the thing that trips me out. Is like, these guys are so big, and just because of his physique, he was moving forward. And I don't, even when he was talking to you after, he wasn't huffing and puffing, and it was the third round.
Absolutely. The kid's a monster, and he's got a bright future in the sport. The one thing that I will say is I hope he doesn't lose that confidence, that self-belief that I am going to be the next Cain Velasquez. I'm going to be the next Junior Dos Santos, because he really looks up to the older modern heavyweight division, right? Not the John Joneses and the Cyril Gans and the Tom Aspinalls. He really looks up to the guys like JDS and Cain Velasquez, and he really is looking to emulate that style in his fighting for sure.
Yeah, I love it, man. Finishes for sure. That's gonna help him out. But yeah, shout out to Adrian. You know, good luck to his professional career. Moves to 4-2 to end his amateur career. Dylan Matthews back to the drawing board. That's 2 title losses for him in a row. I know that he's done, and just how you were saying, the progression, I've seen him gotten better every single time. But the thing is that you're going to fight better guys each time. So, I mean, Dylan's going to go back to the drawing board. We don't know if he's going to, get another amateur fight or two, but 4-4, 8 fights. You know what I mean? I know that he really wants to
I
keep
believe
pushing.
the only mistake, I sorry to cut you off
No,
there,
go ahead.
but I truly believe the only mistake he made was allowing Adrian to dictate the distance, right, and the space in which they were fighting, which when they were close, he was having a lot of success with knees and elbows and dirty boxing up against the cage. However, I believe it was the defense. He just throws his hands out and throws his chin up in the air. And I hope he doesn't find this disrespectful. But if he can learn to ditch that bad habit, the man can be an absolute monster, especially at 6'6".
Yeah, for sure, man. And those are the things that you learn, right? I mean, over time, from what I understanding, like I've always told you that I've never fought or anything, but the amateurs is where you get your time in, where you try to fix everything. Because eventually, if you do go pro, those little things will get you for sure, right?
Not only that, but then your record matters, right? You could be a 5-10 guy and you can get great opportunities in the amateur ranks just because, hey, fights fall out and you can fight for a title at 5-10. As a professional, you absolutely cannot because your record matters. You know what I mean? So these guys need to make those adjustments, especially after the fight, right? Even when you're having successes, in my fight, I was poking all the holes in both of my Muay Thai fights. You know what I mean? I was seeing, man, I really just, as soon as I throw, that left hand comes way down, way down. And I didn't even make the adjustment. I was aware of it, but I really didn't make the adjustment in the second fight at all. So I hope that these guys go out there and they drill all of the issues that they saw in their previous fight, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. I love the breakdown, and that's why I love the honest commentary and what you say, because you've been around fighting, you've been commentating. So, for you to say those kind of things, it's because you see something, and it's and I've been told something, so I was like, hey guys, it's what I see. I'm not saying I'm a fighter, I'm just calling what I see, and it's never anything personal. Hopefully, people, when we say certain things, they don't take it personal, and we wish them the best with any kind of things that we see from our perspective, right?
Absolutely. And just because we understand fighting, we're not in there, right?
Mhm.
I remember I was calling a fight between a former teammate of mine and this top prospect at 105 pounds. And I said, I shit you not, on the commentary, she really needs to close the distance and get a takedown. She's getting eaten up on the feet. As soon as she shot for the takedown, she got caught in a guillotine and lost. So you can do the right thing and still lose. So it's up to you to make those adjustments and like put it into the way that you fight. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not just, oh, tucking my chin and keeping my hands up. It's also finding out how to fight from there and mixing that into your style. It's not just us talking shit. It's us seeing that this would be the way that you can make the adjustment, or this could be the way that could get you out of trouble or get you the win. And it's not always 100%.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. But yeah, that ends that the amateur. No, we got one. No, yeah, that ends the amateur
That that
card. That
that
ends the
ends the
amateur
amateur
card.
card.
And we got some pro fights lined up. First pro fight of the night, Eric Beck out of Las Vegas Syndicate fighting hometown favorite El Guapo Victor. And man, that was a
It was definitely
landslide.
the heartbreak of the night for El
Yes,
Paso.
yes, it was a landslide. I like Victor. He's from here, but goddamn, Beck looked good. I mean, he knew it was for everybody to know it was a short notice fight for both fighters. But man, Eric just came across and did not give Guapo a chance to breathe. Was just relentless with the takedown, relentless with the top pressure. And credit to Victor. I mean, just how you were saying earlier, he could have just been like, turn my back, let's call it a night. Maybe this is just not the way I want to start my career. But he was fighting to the very end.
Absolutely. Victor Santillan, El Guapo, coming out there, making his professional debut on the heels of a 7-1 amateur career, taking on 1-0 Beck, who, now listen, in my opinion, right, the two of the best fighters to come out of the amateur ranks at 170 pounds are Wapo himself and Sebastian Mordecai. Beck's debut was against Sebastian Mordecai, and he beat him by decision. His sophomore professional fight was Victor Santillan, and he beat him decisively by unanimous decision. He's taken out two of the best guys, in my opinion, to come out of the amateur ranks and defeat them both as professionals. And yes, he was coming into enemy territory. He very much played the part. I actually kind of dug it. I mean, Victor is a good friend of mine. I love the kid to death, but Beck played the role very well, and he came out there in dominating fashion, taking the unanimous decision victory. And I remember speaking to Santillan's coach, Pacheco, in the back. Him and Burchak were talking about that's the difference between a kid who knows how to wrestle and a D1 wrestler. A kid that knows how to wrestle is going to shoot for the takedown, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to give up on the takedown and he's just going to throw hands or whatever, right? But Beck wasn't doing that. Beck was chaining his takedowns. He was being relentless with his takedowns. He wasn't giving up. He was a D1 wrestler, and it showed. It shined through in this fight how incredible this kid's wrestling was. His top pressure was incredible. He was landing nasty, nasty elbows on top, great ground and pound. The kid really put on a wrestling clinic on Wapo, which we know Wapo is the type of fighter that's going to come back and he's going to be a monster to deal with. Beck took this opportunity at the right time and really utilized his experience as a wrestler and Victor Santillan's inexperience as a wrestler to really showcase his abilities on Saturday night over at CFC 5. And it's really, really great that he was able to get it done this early in his career because now he's got 2 wins over 2 of the top prospects in the nation at 170 pounds. The sky is the limit for that kid. Now I get it. We didn't get to see a lot of his stand-up, so we don't know how great he is on the feet if he can't get the takedown. If he fights against a guy who's got excellent takedown defense, like we saw later on the card, he might have some trouble. We don't know. We just don't know. He went to his bread and butter and he absolutely dominated. I mean, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, somebody on the side I was asking, I was like, hey, what do you think about this fight? And that person who had said, you know what? One guy trains with UFC fighters every day and one guy doesn't. Simple as that. And I was like, you know what I mean? And it's tough. You know what I mean? It's tough to see that because, you know, Victor has looked good and had some defenses against takedowns and doing well. But how you were saying, it just that level as you start getting toward the top of your division and fighting guys, like it just the steps start changing, huh? Just the levels just a little bit higher. Because I mean, anybody else he would have done well against, but Beck is planned. And then credit to Beck, he came in with Cody Steele, just them two, no bucket, no ice. Just I was just like, what the hell? Yeah, this is crazy. But man, he got it done. He looked impressive. And Victor smiles, you know, took the loss on the chin and he realized like, hey man, I got to get back to work, man. And that's the stuff that we like to see. Cause I mean, nothing to take away from Beck. He went in there, got the job done. Fan favorite for Victor. You know, a lot of people were sad to see that, but this is part of the fight game. And I only feel like that's going to only make Victor better, right?
Well, there's no other way it can be. It's either you quit or you improve. Those are the only 2 options that Victor's got. And we know his mentality. We know him personally. And we know that that's not the type of fighter that he is, right? So he's going to go back to the drawing board. He's going to work on his wrestling. He's going to incorporate into his style. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Incorporate. Yeah. He's going to incorporate his wrestling takedown defense into his fighting style. And he's going to be better for it. However, Beck came out there, was the villain, played the villain, and looked damn good doing it. I mean, when a guy beats your buddy, all you can do is give him respect, right? Because at the end of the day, both guys are fighting for their life. They're fighting for their purse. They're fighting for their legacy. They're fighting for everything. And when a guy goes out there and does what Beck did, I mean, you can't help but be impressed.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, Beck moves up to 2-0 as a pro. Victor 0-1 to start his pro career. But moving up from there, we got some bigger dudes, 205ers. All Day Hodgkins coming up against Woody Chavez.
Woody Chavez.
Woody has over 50 fights. Number 2 in Mexico. Short notice fight for both of them. AJ was coming off a win recently at Fury. And when that fight got announced, I looked up Woody and I was like, oh shit. Like AJ's like my boy and shit too. But I was just like, oh man, this is a big ass dude, man. What did you think about this fight and the skill level that was in that cage for that match?
Well, there's a few things that you have to take in consideration for this fight, right? Obviously, there's a huge discrepancy in the amount of fights each guy had. Hodgkins was riding, I believe, a 8 fight win streak into that, including his amateur career, because he did fumble his amateur debut and reeled off like I think 7 wins or something like that. And then on the flip side of that coin, you had Chavez, who he was making his 50th walk in MMA. That doesn't include his Glory K1 kickboxing venture that he had as well. And you could definitely see that Hodgkins he's a powerhouse. The
Yeah.
dude is absolutely powerful. And he was struggling a lot with the takedowns. And that tells me that Chavez has been there, done that, seen everything. His takedown defense was so good in that fight. It was so good in that fight. And you could really see in the third round when AJ's cardio started to wear a little bit, Chavez was finding success on the feet. And the fight was standing more and more. It wasn't up against the cage. It wasn't on the ground. It was, in his world, right? However, you have Hodgkins who wasn't messing around on the feet either. He's a very powerful guy. When that guy throws, you have to be alert. You absolutely have to have your eyes wide open. You got to have good vision because when that guy throws, it could get really nasty really quick. It was a very technical battle from both guys, back and forth. Now, I understand the fans, they weren't really jiving with what was going on. I was jiving because you see, I'm not just a fight fan, I'm a fight nerd. And when it comes to fighting, when I see the technicality that both of these guys were fighting with, it was absolutely incredible to watch. Now, again, it wasn't the fight that everybody wanted to see, and it wasn't the type of performance that Hodgkins wanted. However, I thought it was definitely going to make both guys better because both guys walked away saying, "Hey, you know what? I got some things that are going to give a lot of guys problems."
Yeah, I like how you were saying that every time I've seen AJ fight, he's had no issue taking somebody down, anytime. He was struggling at times to handle Woody. And to credit to Woody, that's 50 fights, not counting anything else, of him getting used to defending takedowns. You know what I mean? And how you were saying that the times that they were separated, I found out today that AJ broke his orbital bone. So I mean, Woody tagged him like in the second round, and AJ broke his orbital bone. So he hit him that hard. And to credit to AJ, he could have been like, "Oh, he didn't even say nothing to anybody until after the fight because he said, "You gotta kill me to get out of that ring. Like, I am gonna do everything I can." What they have a team saying, they said, however long it takes, for however amount of time it takes. You know what I mean? And AJ looked good for him to have an opportunity to test himself against a legitimate mixed martial artist to realize, like, whoa, I got stuff to work on. Like that, it was cool to see how you were saying, like, yeah, AJ got the win. It was a tough, hard fight, but him even was like, oh damn, like I still got more to do. You know what I mean? I still got a lot to do. So to credits for both of them, the technical side of it, and even with AJ's strength and just positioning and wearing down Woody, Woody was still defending as much as he could against that cage, right?
Absolutely. And it was a very important fight for both guys, right? For Chavez, it was the ability to come in and take out the hometown guy, right? It was also the ability to take out a top prospect, which could propel him into better matchups in the future. You take out this guy that everybody's touting as the next big thing, and it's only going to do wonders for your career. Okay. Hodgkins coming in with just 2 fights, fighting a guy who's making his 50th walk. If he walks away with a dub, that shows that, hey, I belong. I'm meant to be here. I'm one of these guys, if not better, especially if I walk away with the W. So it was a very important fight for both guys. Woody trying to, ditch that journeyman title, right? Nobody wants to be called a journeyman. Nobody wants they're fighting to be the best, right? And Hodgkins also he's clawing his way to the top, right? He hadn't had as much experience as Chavez, and you could really see that play a factor in the third round. Chavez able to, shake the takedowns in the third round, you know, cardio on point. Now, also, Chavez is normally the smaller guy, so he came up in weight to fight at 205 pounds. I believe he fought as low as 170 pounds, which is insane because he looked absolutely massive out there. So it was a very, very important fight for both guys. And in my opinion, again, the fight nerd, it was still a very fun back and forth technical battle.
Yeah, man. AJ gets it done, moves up to 3-0 as his pro career. Woody Chavez, 27-23. It's crazy to see that amount of fights.
That's
Super,
crazy.
you know what I mean? That's so crazy, man. But yeah, shout out to AJ gets it done. And, shout out to Woody for taking that fight last minute. And he, enemy territory, how you said, could have stole the thunder and everything. So, props to him for taking that fight too, because he could easily say like, this guy's 2-0, why am I fighting this guy, how you're saying,
Exactly.
but like if you can take a top prospect and take that thunder, I mean, fights make sense sometimes they don't, but that one made sense. So shout out to AJ gets it done. Moving up to the co-main event, Mr. 316 Javier Cepeda out of Albuquerque versus John Calderon out of Phoenix. Jay Pages, and man, technical fight as well, right?
Absolutely. You had two guys that love to throw strikes. They love to just battle it out, right? Cepeda coming out there with great boxing. He's got professional boxing bouts on his record. So you knew he was going to be, excuse me, he was going to be smooth with it. And Calderon coming in with more of an MMA style, who wasn't afraid to throw. He was having a lot of success with that left hand. Both guys kind of throwing caution to the wind. Now, ultimately, the fight comes to a stop. What round was it? Was it second or third?
Third round.
Third round? Okay, I thought that fight went a little long. So the fight comes to an end in the third round, and I mean Cepeda, you could just see he wanted it, man.
Yeah.
He wanted it, and he hurt John. And unfortunately, his job is to continue until the ref pulls him off, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, John was pretty mangled after that fight. Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, the nose was all jacked up from earlier in the fight, and it only got worse and worse as time went on. And you could kind of see that pressure that Cepeda was putting on him. Lights Out was putting really good pressure on Calderon, and ultimately it paid dividends and it netted the TKO victory in the third round. Now, you have Calderon, who that was just his second fight as a professional. Again, he made his professional debut kind of by accident.
Yeah,
right?
I remember from the
His
last fight.
Yeah, his last fight was supposed to be his last amateur fight, but the kid had already taken a pro fight like 2 weeks before. So his fight ended up being pro, and he said, no problem, no problem. And he got that fight done, right? He netted the finish in his professional debut. However, Cepeda has a lot of professional experience, and he doesn't let the big lights and the big moments get to him. I mean, this kid, I'll be honest with you, right? He might be El Paso's favorite villain,
Right?
but the kid really, really shines, man. He shines, and he fought so hard, and I know he worked so hard for this moment, and for him to get that, I mean, as heartbreaking as it is for a guy that I've trained with in Calderon, who's an absolute monster, he will be back. I promise you that. But to see Cepeda go out there and just train his ass off, and for him to get the type of fight that he got, and it wasn't easy. Calderon was tagging him too. I mean, his face was all swollen. I mean, I was at the after party and I'm looking at him like, oh man, he landed some good lefts because this side of his face was all jacked up. But he was in great spirits, and I think that he believes that he probably got that fight done early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was ready to go 3 hard 5-minute rounds, and the finish materialized. And although he's happy with the result, I believe that crazy son of a gun is. I think he wants to go again right now, tomorrow, next week, whenever. Call him.
Yeah, man. Cepeda gets 2 fights in a row. I know he lost. He lost against Jacobo. Then he rattled 2 wins in a row. So he's won 3 out of his 4 fights. You know what I mean? And he called out for a title shot, which makes sense. You know what I mean? He's 6-3 right now. I mean, he's fought some quality guys. He's got 2 wins in a row. So I mean, I don't know if he gets a title shot, maybe an eliminator fight or whatever, but man, Cepeda look good. His style, he's like technical, how you were saying with the boxing. And John was like, when they were throwing caution to the wind, that's when I thought John was getting the better of him. But I think that's when the coaches were like, hey, like I think Ray was yelling, like, hey, let's slow it down here. Let's tag him up a couple times and go from there. But yeah, Javi gets it done, man. And shout out for John too. I mean, to fight a high caliber guy like that for your second pro fight, I mean, you're only gonna fight guys like that every single time in the pros, right?
Absolutely. And Cepeda showed that he's ready for that limelight. He showed that he's ready for a title shot. And I'm glad that he called for it. Because yes, Calderon was only making his second appearance as a pro, but I mean it was a fun fight for the fans. I don't know that anybody was sitting in their seat for that entire fight because it was an absolute banger. I mean, it was in contention for fight of the night, right?
Yeah,
Both guys were throwing heavy strikes. Both guys were landing heavy strikes. I
slobber
mean, these
knocker.
guys, I mean, I'm telling you, these guys were going after each other for as long as the fight lasted. So very excited to see what both guys do going forward. Obviously, Cepeda having to compete at 135 pounds due to not being I don't know if he's not able to make 125 pounds because I don't think that's fair to say to him. I just think that he has to perfect the weight cut because I do believe that he can make 125 pounds and he'd be just as dangerous at 135 or sorry 125 as he would be at bantamweight. However, seeing him at bantamweight, I mean he looked good out there.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Cepeda. Moves up to 6-3 as a pro. John Calderon moves to 1-1 in his career. Rounding off the top of the card, the whole reason this whole event was created, even the name, Back for Blood 5, CFC 5, the top of the card. We had Cristobal Chavez versus Alejandro out of Mexico. And I was excited to see Chris fight. I know that there was some stories, right, that he was gonna fight. And when did you find out that Cristobal is gonna fight? I know that you've have called fights together here in El Paso. I know you've known him from before. So when did you find out that Chris was gonna fight?
Okay, first of all, Chris is one of the best dudes in the sport. Let's just get that out of the way, right? So super, super happy for him, his team, and his family and his fans to see him go out there in his swan song and get the finish in the first round with just 1 second left. But to answer your question, fight night, it was at the after party, CFC4. Our good buddy Freddie, who handles all the imagery for CFC, he showed me the flyer for CFC5 and it had Chris Chavez on there. And I had to keep that under wraps literally until, Chavez was announced. So, again, to what you were alluding to before, is this was the reason the card was built, right? It was built for Chavez to go out there and have his final fight. Now, again, it's fighting. Any result can happen. So he was out there, willing to put it all out on the line and come up short in his final fight. But he goes out there and he gets a submission win with literally 1 second left on the clock in the first round.
I know.
Insane.
Yeah, I was like right there. And they were going back and forth for a little bit. And I heard Carlos, his coach, in the corner, feint and takedown, feint and takedown. And Chris was trying to find it, finally got a hold of him. Black belt jujitsu, you know what I mean? Took his time, was on top. And one thing is like once he got the takedown, he was working him and he started getting the choke. I heard the 10 seconds. I was like, oh man, there's only 10 seconds left. And in those situations, a lot of fighters are like, oh, it's 10 seconds. I'm going to finish it out. And he got it done with 1 second left. He was like squeezing to the very end. Did you know that there was 1 second left before the fight was going to end?
I had zero idea. I couldn't hear the clacker to save my life, right? All I know is that he was in a good position. He got reversed and he was on the bottom and he threw up the submission. And again, I had no idea where the time was at. I can kind of hear some commotion in the corner of Chavez, right? EKA and all those guys, they were yelling something. I know
Yeah.
they were yelling something, but I could not hear anything. And us at the booth, I mean, we're going absolutely nuts. I mean, the whole place was electric as this fight was taking place. Again, it was only 4 minutes and 59 seconds, but that, like, you would normally think that would feel like a lifetime, but it went by almost faster than the amateur rounds, in my
Yes.
opinion. I felt that there had to be more time on the clock, and Chavez, like you said, could have just ridden it out. He wasn't really in that much trouble. He had the submission attempt going before it netted him the victory. He could have let it go to a second round, but he was not going to be denied. He was
Yeah.
not going to be denied. And to get a win like that,
I know, dude.
okay, I understand there was some knockouts on the card, and there was some really good fights, but to get a win like that on the Swan Song, it's your victory lap, bro. And you're just right there neck and neck with the number two guy, and to just pull ahead and cross that banner, boom, it breaks on your chest. I mean, to get that type of victory in your final fight, man, he's the coolest cat around.
You can't write this shit. You cannot
You
write.
can't.
I spoke to him before the fight on the show, and we were kind of jokingly, he had unfinished business, you know what I mean? He 8 years ago he had to stop for life reasons, and he doesn't regret it or anything, but it was still in the back of his head, like he still wanted to get that fight. And the story goes, when I was talking to Carlos, the matchmaker for CFC, he was like, he told the wrong person. And then he told the wrong person that he wanted another fight. And to credit to Alejandro too, like, from the people that don't know, the initial guy he was gonna fight was a legit guy too, but they had issues with the visa and he couldn't get in because he was from Colombia. Then Alejandro had, a good, amateur career, a good pro career, so he wasn't a slouch either. Because even Chris was like, "Oh man, that's a new opponent for him." You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he's been training for one guy, and all of a sudden, like 2 weeks before, do I take this fight because it's my last fight? Is it a good fight for me? Is it not? You know what I mean? And then Alejandro, for him to be like, yeah, let me go up there, and how you were kind of saying how would he, let me go steal the thunder from the hometown guy. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't I take this fight? So, credit to Alejandro too, because he showed up to fight as well. And like, a lot of people were kind of worried because we haven't seen Chris fight, but he trains every damn day. You know what I mean? He's a black belt for a reason. He's rolling around with AJ and some of those guys that are pro fighters all the time right now. So I mean, for people to see him go out there, how you're saying the Swan Song, you can't write this kind of stuff. And one thing that when we spoke, he was like, "Man, I saw Cerrone when he won a fight and he brought his son up. I want to do that shit." And he got to
Hell yeah.
do that, dude. That shit was,
Hell yeah.
as fathers ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, our kids think we're Superman. So for you to go out there, fight in a cage, win, and then have your kids come in after, like, come on, man.
Oh man.
Like, you can't, dude. I would just die a happy man if I was in that position.
100%. And there's two things to note before I get to answering some of that, right? Chris Chavez is one of the best guys in the sport, and also one of your first coaches in jiu-jitsu, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mhm.
So this guy gives back to the community, and he's one of the best guys in the sport, in martial arts. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Not just in MMA, not just in jiu-jitsu, in any of combat sports, he's one of the best guys, around, period. Right. And again, like you were saying, how he got to have his kids in the ring. I wish I'd have thought of that. Man, I wish I'd have thought of that. When I got my fucking belt, that would have been awesome.
Right?
That would have been
Yeah.
awesome, right?
Yeah.
And then, he had this fight that he didn't have to take. That's just out of the question. It's out of the question, right? He's a fighter, and fighters fight. And he came in looking so damn good. And he had a big weight cut. He cut at least, I think he said he came down from like 70 something to get to 100. And what you guys don't understand, right? Me and you understand
Yeah,
this.
as you get
But
a
what a
little
lot of
older.
it gets a little tougher. It gets a little tougher, right? So credit to him for coming in like a true professional and making the weight that him and his opponent agreed on at 150 pounds. He looks so damn good.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
his opponent looked great too. I mean, I
yeah,
was like, oh shit, this guy came to fight, right? So for him to go out there, let me hit that real quick. For him to go out there and have that type of performance in his last fight,
yeah,
I truly do believe, even though there's probably more in the gas tank, I believe he's done fighting. I believe
yeah.
that he went out there and he did what he wanted to do and he secured the victory and he can walk away from the sport with his head held high and move on to other accomplishments that he wants to make within the sport. He's a great coach. He's got a lot of opportunities in front of him. And man, you can't give the guy enough credit.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember you were talking to him after, like, you want to just take the gloves off here and just put him down? Yeah, we don't got to go all that. Like, he's like, but he did say that. Yeah, all jokes aside, he's like, hey man, I wanted to get one more in. His last two fights didn't go his way, and he felt like he just we wasn't in the right space and time to do that. He was coaching, running a gym, have a family, work, you know what I mean? So a lot of people don't understand that to be dedicated to this sport, to excel in it, he was finally in the position, how you were saying, to be able to be selfish, to be able to get a trainer, to be able to go in there every day and know, like, I'm setting up for a fight because this is what I want to do. And he even told me on the side, he's like, man, I told my wife in the first round, so I'm glad I did it.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand is fighters make commitments to themselves,
Mhm.
right? I remember when I started fighting back in 2012, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to fight at least 3 times. If all 3 fights didn't go my way, then okay, I'm not who I thought I was, and maybe it's time to move on to something else. I got two, life went a different direction, and at 36, I was able to finally get back into the ring at this point. That's a whole different subject, but I got, my fight and that led to another fight, right? So I'm not saying that his story is going to go the same way. I think he's done. I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to fight again, and he doesn't have to,
Yeah, he doesn't,
right?
and that he didn't have to. He didn't even have to fight this one, right?
No, but he probably, like I did, made a promise to himself that, hey, once I'm in a better position in life, I want to go out there and do this for me. At the end of the day, you have things that you fight for, but that core thing that burns deep inside you is, I want to do this for me. And he had to go out and be selfish and take time away from his family and his friends. And, he probably lost out on birthdays and concerts and everything that your average Joe just gets to partake in because they're not committed to the game like he is. And for him to go out there and put in the training camp, have the change up in opponents and just take everything on the chin, like, hey, you know what? I'm committed. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do my thing. And I mean, he did it in the only Chris could do that.
Yeah,
Only Chris could do
that
that.
was awesome, man. It was cool to witness, to know him as long as we have, and to say he wanted to do that. Not only just to go out there to fight, to actually win in a spectacular fashion, and right onto the sunset, man. It was awesome to see, and I mean, I would love to see him fight again, but I'm okay with him saying that I'm done too, because I was like, if he gets this, like, there is no reason to come back. Like, I was like, I even told
Absolutely
him,
not.
yeah, I was like, dude, if you win like in a spectacular fashion, there's no reason to come back. He's like, well, hopefully it is that way. So, shout out to Chris, man, and yeah, he does so much for the sport, for El Paso, for his family, and just it's awesome to see guys like that. And we and that's the cool thing that I like relating to, because we get to know a lot of these guys, and a lot of the time it's tough in the back. It's tough, what people go through on a daily basis. So to be able to him to make that last walk the way he wanted to, and to get that win, you know what I mean? It was awesome to see. And for the show to end that way, we had 12 fights, 6 finishes. And for that last fight to end that way, him on the top of the cage, him that having that conversation with you after with his kids and his family. I mean, that was just I mean, for a promote on the promotion side, I mean, you could have scripted that better than ever. You know what I mean? That was a WWE ending.
100%. And it's a great way to cap off a great night of fights. And again, you want to see the fighters go out there and fight. You want to see them go out there and put on a show. And Chris had the weight, not just of El Paso, but yeah, I mean, he had the weight of the jiu-jitsu community. He had the weight of the MMA community. I mean, me, even as a Muay Thai guy now, I mean, I was looking forward to this fight, knowing full well that this fight was going to take place on the ground predominantly, right? And everybody was just looking forward to this fight, and he goes out there and just puts his opponent away in the first round, a game opponent that I mean, he didn't have a choice. You got to tap when Chris has got anything. I
Yeah.
mean, you just got to tap, because if not, it's gonna break or you're gonna go to sleep. Those are the only two options that you have. I mean, the guy's decorated, and you don't want to be put in a position where you could be, losing a limb, losing consciousness, let alone losing the fight. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So he's a dangerous guy, and all fights start on the feet, and he didn't look bad on the feet either.
Yeah.
Let's give
Because
the man some freaking credit.
he's like, man, I might get emotional and start freaking going crazy. He's like, but I shouldn't do that.
No, and he looked absolutely phenomenal on the feet as well,
Yeah.
which shows the progression. Even at our age,
Yeah.
you're able to progress.
Yeah, man.
So it not only is he a walking highlight, but he's also a walking inspiration to young guys, coming up in the scene, coming up and fighting, or maybe this was the first fight they ever saw. And they saw a 35-year-old man go out there and win in the main event against a young, hungry, just competitor. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want.
Yeah, man.
We
I
all
love
want to
it.
be able to walk off into the sunset with our head held high, our kids with us, and he did it. I mean,
Yeah.
the man did it.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous of the guy now because I could have done that too. Shit.
Yeah, yeah, right, dude. You can't script that, dude. I mean, that was awesome to see. Overall card, 12 fights. CFC does it again, man. And this promotion, I know you've been around a lot of promotions, but these guys are getting some good traction. They're attracting some great talent, and there hasn't been any horrible fights or boring fights. Every card that I've been to since two has been amazing. And I'm just excited for such a promotion like CFC to be having these events, outside events. 3,100 people showed up for MMA in the city in the Southwest, and it was great to see that.
Absolutely. And you have an organization that's, not even at event 6, right? We're still on one hand. We just finished the first hand. We're barely going to the second hand. And what you're seeing CFC do in their matchmaking and in their promotion is they're thinking outside the box when it comes to their promotion, and their matchmaking is on point. Absolutely on point. You have a matchmaker that understands fighting. And look, there's good matchmakers out there, okay? And then there's guys that don't play. They don't play. They just matchmake. You know what I mean? Lost an earphone there. And I believe that Carlos is a fan of the game and wants to see fun, exciting fights that everybody can get behind. And he's definitely doing that. And he's got a bright future in matchmaking and growing this CFC brand for sure.
Yeah, man. I love to see it, man. Well, CFC 5 back for blood officially done, man. Always a pleasure seeing you, man. I always grow inspiration from doing what you're doing, and us to be on the media side. I love having conversations with people like this, and I do appreciate your time. And I even said it, man. Anytime that you're commentating a fight, or if I'm there, comrade, we got to do these after, man. I mean, I do them by myself, but doing it with somebody else is so much better.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I had to go through the entire weekend with this huge migraine, and it sucked because this was something that I've been looking forward to for months, right? And to go through an entire event, there's loud music, there's, the crowd's roaring. I mean, you can't even hear the damn timekeeper, right? So I had to go through that whole event with a migraine, and I mean, I pushed through, man. I pushed through. It wasn't, the greatest of times, just because I was going through a lot of pain. But I mean, the fights definitely, they did what they needed to do for me, and we were able to get through the night and get it done. So shout out to Carlos Pacheco, to Roland, to
The David,
um,
all three of those
yeah,
guys.
David, there you go. Yeah, the three-headed monster, right? I'm sure there's a three-headed monster out there that we could reference, but it's not coming to mind, right? But shout out to CFC. It was a great event. We love to see it. I can't wait until CFC 6. I got some insider information that I'd love to give you off camera, so we can get into that a little bit later. But CFC 5 in the books. Again, 12 fights. It was a night of action. Even, the fight that people found the most boring was still one of the best fights. You know what I mean? So, matchmaker, hats off to you, right? Can't wait to see you do your thing again.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. I love doing these recaps, and I hope you guys enjoying them too, man. The fact that I get somebody who's been around the game for the longest time, like yourself, commentating at all these different promotions, knowing all these different fighters, and being able to see and get your perspective on the quality of fights in the promotion, man. It's awesome to see that. And I look forward to doing more of these, with you. And I'm gonna try to make my way out to Arizona. You know what I mean? To watch some fights. I try to do my best, to try to cover as much as possible. And shout out to all the fighters who walk up to us both, and give us our props because we love doing it. We want to be out there. And if we can just do the little small media spot to promote the fights or talk about everybody's journeys and stories. I mean, I feel like that's important too for people to know that a lot of people are out here busting their butt and chasing their dreams, man. And us as commentator or media people, we get inspired watching these guys do that or girls do that. And we want to let everybody know that, hey, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Absolutely. A lot of time goes into what we do, and a lot of people, they don't see that. They only see the front side of what we do, right? There's countless hours of research. There's, you got to drive, you got to this, you got to that. So to have guys in the community like yourself and me, it just it goes to show that there's more to this sport than just fighting, and we're just trying to expose it.
Yeah, man. I love that, man. Thank you so much for your time. You guys, make sure you guys keep up with me, Jimmy Dukes, on the Jimmy Dukes Rodriguez YouTube channel. We're doing conversations, recaps, MMA, boxing, combat sports content all the time. Make sure to go check out Head Kick on his Instagram, posting Head Kick videos daily for you guys, commentating great promotions out in Arizona as well. And make sure you guys keep up with him, man, as on the different socials. Head Kick audio for everything, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're gonna get back to Monster Promotions in 2026. Just to give everybody a little update on that. That's where I do the ring announcing. And then in a couple weeks, I've got Rough out in Phoenix. A couple weeks after that, we've got Rise of the Prospects down here in Tucson. And then, of course, everybody's waiting for CFC 6 to be announced. So we got a lot of good things. I mean, I'm sure you've got cars that you're working on as well. So I love following you. I love seeing all your work. I mean, you're doing an incredible job. I mean, you
Thank
kind
you,
of make
brother.
me look bad sometimes, but hey, I'm not one of those guys that's gonna talk shit. I'm gonna build you up, and I'm gonna promote you to the best of my abilities as well, because I really believe in what you do, and I respect what you do, and you're damn good at it.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, man. I feel like every part of the community needs different people doing different things. And I feel like us just doing what we do and being ourselves because we were doing it anyways. We might as well shout out all the fighters and the promotions that are doing their diligence on the back end to give these guys opportunities and girls opportunities to go put on their show, man. But thank you so much once again. Make sure you guys drop a like, comment, all that good stuff. You all know how it works out with the socials, it helps out. But until next time, we'll see you guys at the fights. Peace. Hey, good shit, man.